Join us on the Ari'ze Women Network, where our special guests will be speaking about economics, gentrification, colorism, film reviews, health and wellness, reparations, celebrity news, and entrepreneurship. Thank you and be sure to tune in. Hello, hello. Welcome to Ari'ze Women Network. I'm so glad you guys could join us today. I have a very special guest. I like to bring some type of informative podcast as well to educate. It's okay to have a good time, have fun, and, do our little videos, but, we've got to do our business and we've got to do it right. Are you minding your business? I'm going to bring on a special guest who's going to help you to market, navigate, and also to be able to reach a very large sector of consumers. And I'm going to introduce you, just do a little bio of her, and then we will get started. So grab you a little drink and sit back. You may want to get a notepad out. There's going to be some very informative points that she's going to make. She is an author. She is a CEO. And this lady she's a dynamic person. Yes, she is. And she is an award-winning market researcher. Her name is Pepper Miller. She has a new book out, which is called Let Me Explain Black Again. She reaches the Black consumer, and she has a lot of experience, and she's going to explain you herself what she means about Let Me Explain Black Again. So I'm going to bring her on right now, and I introduce you to award-winning author, researcher, and author Pepper Miller. Hi,
Hi,
Pepper.
Crystal. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. I'm so glad you guys reached out to me. I saw you on LinkedIn. So,
Yes.
see, it's good to get away from the other social media sites and get with the LinkedIn is very informative. I want to give my shout out to them because to connect with you because I've seen you around, and
Yeah,
then
I've been around for a while.
yeah, and your PR reached out to me, and I said, she said she has a new book out. You definitely want to interview her. So
Very
I
good.
am
I'm
so excited.
glad that Melody is wonderful, and I'm delighted that you accepted. So it is my
Yeah.
pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, she's so professional too, Melody.
Oh,
And
yeah. She's
yeah,
wonderful.
very patient, and we need that. When we connect as entrepreneurs, as business people, we need the patience. And, some people, they like to text a lot. And I like
Yes.
the fact that Melody is not afraid to actually reach out and gave me her number. I called her and we
She does
talked.
all well. She does texting well. She does phone calls well, emails well, and obviously in person well. Yes,
Yes. And
she's
I'm
very good at
excited to meet you because I'm so glad I got a copy of your
that
book.
was my pleasure to send it to you. For you wanting to have
Yes.
me on your show, um, just to give you some direction of, what I'm saying, what my message is, it's very helpful. But I was delighted to do it anyway, because all
Yeah.
of this helps me in many, many ways. Helps me in many, many ways. So
Well,
I
we need
appreciate that.
that. Yeah, we need to know about marketing because as entrepreneurs, we'll build our websites and we'll get our products and services and get everything intact. But marketing is a really big part of, business and being
Absolutely.
entrepreneurs. So, would you
Absolutely.
like to explain kind of how important it is? Or
Well, I am. So I am a market researcher. What we do is we help large companies understand Black people. So I do a particular type of research. It's called qualitative focus groups. Some of your people in your
Okay.
audience might have even participated or are aware of them. So we do a lot of focus groups research where we bring people into a particular facility, or we do them virtually, and we ask them questions about their product or service or lifestyle. It's that simple, but it's really not. There's a lot of pieces
Okay.
to market research. So large companies that I work with are CNN, McDonald's,
Oh.
Unilever, Procter and Gamble, the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. I live in Chicago. Most of my clients are in other cities, and most of my
Okay.
clients, the majority of them, are not Black; they are white
Okay.
clients. Some are Black, but most are not. And so I wrote this book. This is my third Black Insights book. I primarily wrote it for the marketing audience, but it's in a storytelling situation because I wanted to reach a broader scope of people. For the marketers, this helps them understand us. So my passion, Crystal, is really about having society and business leaders understand our value as a people as well as a market segment. And then for Black people, this book gives us a narrative, an elevated narrative. Black
Mhm.
people, since we've been forced, dragged onto this continent, this country,
Uh-huh.
have had this forever cloud of stereotypes and lessness, less value, less beautiful, less intelligent, less articulate, less educated, less
Mhm.
likely to work. I mean, it's all of these stereotypes that have haunted us and they continue to follow us around. And we have been, God bless us, fighting them. A big part of the Black
Mhm.
experience is to counter negative stereotypes. So this book gives us a language, a story that we can tell, another side of the story or a deeper side of the story for
Okay.
Black people. And I think it validates us as a people as well. And the stories that we tell here, when I talk about another narrative, it's not meant to be defensive. It's just about us knowing who we are and sharing our history, which is particularly important today as many in another party are trying or are erasing. They're not trying to erase our history. It is being erased as we speak. So
Mhm.
this helps us a lot keep our own story alive, and the rationale for why we do what we do and why we believe what we believe. That's kind of my shtick. It's
Yeah.
my passion to help people understand that, because there's a perception that we just showed up with all
Uh-uh.
of our wonderment and all of our challenges. So, and that's definitely not the case for us.
No. No, we definitely didn't just show up now.
Well, there's so many people that do believe that when they say things like, "Well, what's wrong with what's wrong with y'all? What's how come you can't get it together?" And understanding our history helps them understand that Black people are behind. We've made tremendous progress in civil rights, but we're still
Mhm.
behind because we're supposed to be behind. We have a Crystal Smothers, and we have an Oprah and a Gail, and we have LeBron James, and his lovely wife. God, I can't even remember her name. It
I don't
begins
know
with a
his
T.
wife. I
Uh,
only know Juanita, what's his name? Jordan's wife. That's the only sports wife I know.
well, I can't. Gabrielle Union is his wife.
Gabby.
She's an actor. She's an actor.
Oh,
She's an entrepreneur. She has a clothing line.
uh-huh.
She's an author. Gabrielle Union is not LeBron James's wife. I'm sorry.
uh,
She's Dwayne Wade's wife. I
Dwayne
beg
Wade.
your pardon. Nah.
Okay.
But
Okay.
so the point is, we have these famous people, and there's a perception because these people at the very high end of the income spectrum
Mhm.
have made it. They made it through the funnel.
Mhm.
And so they ask what's wrong with the rest of us. And the problem is we have a funnel of opportunity that we have to get through. And some people make
Mhm.
it through that funnel. But the reality is we are still navigating broken systems, healthcare broken, housing broken,
Mhm.
education broken, finance broken, and the justice system is broken. So Black, brown, and poor people, and particularly Black people, are still navigating those broken systems. I am still navigating the broken systems. When I show up to a hospital, they don't. I mean, people have their biases, so they see you as Black first, and then whatever comes with that, the biases and the misperceptions and the misunderstanding of seeing skin color first comes with that. So this book helps break those things down, those biases, and it draws attention to the biases, and I
Is
call them
that the
steps for marketers, things that they completely miss, whereas they attempt to market to all of us instead of marketing to
yeah.
us in a relevant way.
I think that's true, and it's like unfortunately the media and movies have portrayed us in a certain way, so people
Correct.
are boxing us in that way. Like everybody does not want um, the what do I call broken English dialogue when you're marketing to
Ebonics,
us. You can
yes.
talk normal to us, like we're
Right,
talking. Everything doesn't have to be broken and urban down. I'd say that,
right.
but yeah, but it's still important that we do have our own individual way of looking at things and
Absolutely. It's
how
part of
we,
it's
yeah,
part of our culture. But
yeah,
yes, I
yeah,
agree. We are different from mainstream, but we're also different from each other in very
yeah,
meaningful ways. So the the ebonics, the language, the words that we use, those are part of the it's part of the culture of America that they use, and they get that from us. We influence that as well. We are criticized for it, and at the same time, we are often, you
mimicked.
know, um, what is the word? Acculturated. They take that and adopt it. Many people in mainstream, they adopt it as our own without giving us the credit. If we are given credit, it is usually something typically negative associated with it, in
That's
too many
true.
in too many times, in too many situations.
Yeah. So is that what you mean in your book when you talk about the blind spot? For
Yeah.
instance, blind spot number one, the avoidance of America's unbridled history. You want to kind of expound on that?
Yeah, so I have 7 blind spots that I talk about, and there are many, many blind spots that society and particularly business leaders have when it comes to Black America when they are interested in reaching us. The most important blind spot, the most important insight to understand about Black people is our history. We have a different history associated with slavery, particularly US born African Americans. And a result of that history, we have a different lens in terms of how we see ourselves and how we perceive how others see us. And so, as a result of that history, and then we have different treatment. And as a result of that, different beliefs and behavior. So, different history, different treatment equals beliefs, different beliefs and behavior. And those beliefs and behavior are so important for marketers to understand and society to understand, as well as an opportunity to connect with us in a relevant way. So think about badge value, for example.
Mhm.
It's a very old school term that we use in the marketing community, but it's still very real for us. We have a tendency to want to purchase a lot of upscale items to confirm and create how we want to be perceived. Now, it's not that we're the only ones doing it, embracing badge value, but because of our history, we place a lot of relevance on it. Respect is so important to us. It's important to everyone, but we have a tendency to place a higher value on it. Another example of like respect, for example, and how it ladders back up to our history is a, a shopping study that was done some years ago among Black and white department store shoppers.
Uh-huh.
And the particular department store wanted to understand what motivates these shoppers to shop at one store versus another. So among Black and white shoppers, the number one response was price for both groups of people. But the
Really?
number two response for Black people was respect. The number two response for white people was the availability of merchandise. So 12 years later, another study was done using the same questions
Mhm.
that this was done. And the exact same responses came up. 12 years later, same questions, different study. When I say different study, different people, the design was the same, the questions were the same. But 12 years later, we got the same response, and the people were different. The number one response for choosing a department store for both
Mhm.
Black and white shoppers was price. The number two response for Black people was respect. The number two response for white people was the availability of merchandise. And so there's lots of stories like that. And when we think about respect and badge value, those things ladder back up to our history in terms of how we were treated, and the lens
Mhm.
that we're looking through at the world through, and how we navigate the world is based on that history. And so many groups are trying to erase our history, but it is the most important insight. That's why it's number one for
Mhm.
connecting and engaging with Black America.
Exactly. And we can go back. In fact, what I really liked about your book is that you went into detail about our history really being, I would say, being wounded. For
Yes,
instance, Black Wall Street, being wounded financially, I'll say. Black
financially,
Wall
yeah, we were just not allowed to do so much, and I didn't get into that. But one of a great book is, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. It is so wonderful, Crystal. She talks about this 15-year, well, she took her 15 years to write the book, but she talked about the great migration from the South to the North or the West or
Mhm.
the East. And she chronicled three lives of three individuals, and people were getting away from the South because of Jim Crow laws, but they
Exactly.
were still not treated the same way. Yes, they could, they didn't have to sit in the back of the bus, but they still were denied a lot of equalities that white people were denied. And she really gets into that. So understanding our history, and I talk about that a little bit too in the book, because it's so very, very, it's so very, very
It
critical to engagement. It just so much so.
it is, and I just recently just learned. It didn't really dawn on me that like back in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where the
Yes.
Black Wall Street, when all the businesses and neighborhoods burnt down, the black people. I didn't think about that. Their IDs, their bank account books and stuff like that, checkbooks, those all went up in smoke. So when you try to go to the insurance company and say, "Hey, I lost this," you have to have evidence of that.
Well, and even
So,
though that was a big story, and a lot of times all you needed was your address and somebody to verify, they still were not reimbursed for what happened to them. So white Americans bombed them because of, again, if a Black man bumped into a white woman or said something or looked at her in a different way, they came for this guy, Johnny Rollins. They called him Diamond Dick, and he loved
uh-oh.
to be flamboyant, and he loved to dress well. He loved to wear diamond rings. So it was said that he said something to a white female, and the white men came after him with guns, and the Black men had their own guns to protect him. And that was just, oh my God, a no-no for Black men to
Oh,
even have guns. And how dare you raise a gun at another white man? So they air bombed Black Wall Street. And Black Wall Street
Yeah.
had its own school system. They were forced into segregation. This is 1921. Whites over here, blacks over here, colors are not allowed at many of the businesses. So they created their own businesses, school systems, hospital systems, you know, uh, flower shops, hardwares, well, 150 businesses. And it was air bombed, and they just totally flattened the entire community of 1,200 homes. 9,000 people were left homeless. And it just wasn't discussed. People didn't get reimbursed. Nobody, comforted these people. It was just over. And so 9,000 people were left homeless to figure it out on their own. And so I often ask my clients, where do you think Black people would be if they had that wealth from the business, and if they had the wealth from the land? Where do you think they would be? And if they had the strategies from those businesses flowing through our communities? So when they say what's wrong with them and how come things aren't equal, it's more systemic. And to understand that we are where we are because of these things that happen to us, not because we're shiftless and we're lazy and
Right.
smart. We are amazing people, lovely people, loud, brilliant, beautiful, to continue to be here after all that has happened to us. So I ask them, to think about that.
Yeah.
Um, when I'm talking to them, it's called the white gaze, when they look at us and say, what's
True.
wrong with them, without asking themselves why people behave in the way that they do. Why do Black people believe what they believe? Why is their church experience so emotional? Because of everything that we've gone through. They chalk it up to being ignorant or loud, because we have this fiery preaching in many of our churches, and we're criticized for it rather than understanding the emotion behind it. So those are, some of the
Yeah.
reasons behind the book. Let me explain Black again.
Again.
Explain
So
why.
what are the other two books? Did you have two other books prior
Yes,
to
I
that?
did. My first book was What's Black About It, and that was written in
Mhm.
2003. Very foundational, still explaining this history that we have, and talking about media and the importance of Black media and market research. And then the second book was Black Still Matters in Marketing. The first book, when it was written, Crystal, there was no Facebook, no social media as we know it today,
Really?
no constant contact, no iPhone, no YouTube, none of that. Twitter, there was none of that. And so I was like, oh my God, I need to talk about, how things have changed and not changed with the Black
Yeah.
consumer market. So Black Still Matters in Marketing was written in 2012. And I thought, man, this is going to be great. We got a Black president. People are going to embrace this. Not Black people not only voted for Barack Obama, but whites voted for him as well. And I'm thinking the mindset has shifted so much, but it hadn't. What happened was there was less investment in market research and Black media and Black advertising. Again, got a
Yes.
Black president. What's wrong with y'all? What more do you want? We are post-racial. There's a belief that we are post-racial because you and I, Crystal, two Black women with their own businesses in America, it's unheard of still in so many other countries. But it doesn't mean that we're still not navigating some tough.
Exactly. Exactly. And going back to the investing in black businesses and marketing, John H. Johnson with Ebony Magazine, downtown Chicago, went out of business. And I'm hurt because he didn't get enough support with advertising. A lot of the dollars go to other businesses. So
Absolutely.
that's where you come in, where you let your, when you do your presentations, hey, it's okay to invest in us because we
And
will give
to
back.
and to make sure that we invest in our own businesses too. I Mr. Johnson was a very proud bootstrap kind of guy, pulled himself up from the bootstrap. And I had the opportunity to do some research with their company too. And he was very resistant against it. It was back in the probably early 2000s or like
Oh,
1999
is
or
that what
2000.
happened?
But he was very resistant to that because he saw himself as this leader. He was leading in terms of readers compared to Essence, which was the number 2 popular magazine by a million people. And he believed it would always be that way. And so, just, that's the other thing that we have to stay on top of things. Think about trends and what's coming, what's happening, who are the influencers of the trend. Black people continue to still be influencers of the trends today. Millennials in general, all millennials, Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, are the biggest market segment. They have displaced boomers, and they tend to be huge influencers in terms of the political and cultural environment. And Black millennials are the influencers of our own community. They are the best educated these days. They are self made, they are entrepreneurial, and they continue to influence the world in terms of language and dance and style and food as well.
Yeah, in fact, I love this part of your book where you talk about the millennials. And the caption on page 94 is most millennials and Gen Zers desire a nation of equality.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
they do. They most millennials in
I do.
general want equality. And I think that's one of the reasons why they are erasing Black history. Because if those white kids don't know our history, then they don't have to stand up for it. They can just look at some progressive people and say, what's wrong with the rest of you, and fall in line. So it
Oh,
has political impact for people to not understand our history. But the millennials are one of
excuse
the reasons why I wrote this book, The Growth of the Millennials, the three disruptors, Trump, COVID, and George Floyd, how they changed how we start looking at different audiences. I think a lot of when Trump got elected, people, business leaders start thinking maybe we need to look at the Black consumer market a little bit more, or multicultural market segments, because of his antics and some of the statements that he was making. But when George Floyd was murdered, that was a huge aha moment in America's overdue awakening, as Time magazine calls it. And so I think a lot of business leaders looked around in the room and discovered that there were no Black people in the room. So we started seeing a lot of movement and companies starting looking into the history of Black America and start educating themselves and reading books, not only Black books like mine, but other books like White Fragility by Dr. Robin, I can't remember her last name, but it's a wonderful bestseller that talks about um, um, uh, uh, the
the growth.
I'm just losing my
You
privilege. She talks about privilege a lot
okay.
and what it looks like and how it's impacted the country and how we need to talk about it. But the millennial growth has really impacted a lot of our mindsets and what's happening with us. And I'm grateful for the millennials, but they do want a nation of equality. And Black millennials want that too, but they also want to stay connected with Black culture. They don't want to abandon themselves. In the United States, it's that you're one of us, either you're with us or against us, and that you need to conform to mainstream standards. And that's one of the things that I like about the Black millennials and their power of being unapologetically Black, which is one of the blind spots as well. So the need to be a part of mainstream, but be unapologetically Black. I don't want to give up my culture to be a part of mainstream. And so the millennials are leading with that mindset. And that means that marketing communication has to be different. Different does not mean deficient. Different
Oh,
means it provides an opportunity for you to understand and celebrate me in a different way, and to have a language, advertising, messaging that relates to me, that is positive and authentic. So we thank our Black millennials for that.
yes. Yes, we do. They pretty much they got it. And the
They
older
do.
ones don't have it.
Yeah, we're hard on
Yeah.
our kids, Crystal. We say things, oh, our kids are not doing well, they're messing up, but our kids are, they're galvanizing themselves on the internet. I think, what a few people make in terms of bad decisions then blankets the entire Black community. Pookie and Ray Ray, they're real. They're out there on the corner raising havoc, but that's just Pookie and Ray Ray. It is not the entire Black community. And
Thank
so those young people that fall into Pookie and Ray Ray's age group are then blanketed too. There are so many more young Black people that are doing the right thing, that want to be good citizens, that are starting their own businesses, that are helping to um, add value to the Black
you.
community. There are some that are not adding value; they're perpetuating the stereotype, but most are not, and so we don't hear about them. But a lot of them are on the internet, galvanizing themselves on the internet and starting businesses. And Black
And
Lives Matter, Million Hoodies in the Hood. I mean, they have their own businesses that are preaching the importance of unification, voting, saving, and investments. It's a lot of it is coming from our youth that we don't get credit for that, or they don't get credit, but we as a
exactly.
community don't get credit for it.
Right. They're not just the rappers and
That's right.
the like you say, the fashionistas, who create the fashion,
That's
they're
right. And
not
the,
just
and
clothes and
all of those are important. Rapping and the fashionistas, they're all important, because they're different parts of our story, and it's the way we communicate. The hip hop culture, I like hip hop. I don't like that gangster hip
Mhm.
hop that's misogynist and demeaning, to women and other people. But I do like the fact that Black people are telling their story in their own way, and we have to allow that. We do. We have to
Exactly.
allow it, and we have to celebrate it, and even in all of its rawness. But there's something very real about the messages that come out in hip hop, and so I think we have to, I'm not saying to accept unacceptable behavior, but we have to learn
Mhm.
to understand and appreciate the messages that are coming through on hip hop, and how important it is to the
Oh
young.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, but they're the millennials are becoming part of the political
That's
landscape, like
right.
you say, the finances, they're buying stocks,
That's right. And
they're
teaching
doing
us about stock buying.
uh-huh. Oh,
Yes,
yeah. So
absolutely.
definitely. Yeah. So yeah, we do need to kind of rewire some of the thinking that people have about marketing to us and, what they use in their marketing. So your book is very
Yeah, it is.
it's a blessing.
It's a marketing book. It's an insights book. Help so that we can understand each other better, and that others can understand us as well.
Yes. Well, thank you. I want you to give me your website so people can get in contact with you. I'm so happy, that you took the time to write this book.
Oh,
It
thank
takes
you, Chris.
time and it's
It
pretty it's
does.
pretty
There's a
thick
lot of
now.
stops and starts. And after George Floyd's murder, that really gave me the impetus and gave me a bigger platform too to talk about, or at least a rationale for a platform. So my website is peppermiller.net.
Okay.
I'm on Twitter at peppermiller. LinkedIn at Pepper Miller, and Instagram at Pepper Miller 40. I'm working on my Instagram, y'all. I got to do more videos and stuff. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. So
Yay,
please,
it's okay.
join me. And you can find
Yeah.
our book on Amazon or our publisher, Paramount Books.
Okay, so you're on Amazon and you got your website. It's on your website also,
See, I
right?
like and thank you for having that scroll across. That's
Oh
wonderful.
yeah. I kind of get irked when I see videos of people interviewing people and they won't like flash
And
their
you're like, who
website.
are
Like
you? Right.
a lot of people won't go back to the video and try to find, okay, what's the
That's
website?
true. That's
But
true. Good for
yeah, but
you. Good for you.
wow. But thank you.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you
you. Thank you
for
so much,
joining
Miss
me.
Crystal. I appreciate you
Yes.
immensely and the work that you are doing as well. Thank you for making women strong. And
Yes, we need that. Yeah, our,
yes, we do.
healing from whatever we're going through because we can't help someone until we help ourselves.
Right.
And yeah, but definitely uh, let your friends know. We're gonna go ahead and air this, and we'll let you guys. We'll put the dates out. Be promoting you on social media
All right.
because I appreciate you supporting the network as well. You and Melody both supported the network, so that's what it's about.
Will do.
Uh,
All righty.
so
All
you
right.
guys, I want everybody to be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to, get in touch with Pepper, a copy of her book. Anything else you want the audience to know?
I think we've pretty much covered everything. I want people to be well and be open to change, guys. Change for the best, without giving up yourself. But change is good. It's a good thing.
Change is good. Well, let me explain. Black Again author Pepper Miller. Make sure you look her up. Thank you, Pepper, again.
Thank
And
you,
I'm going to
Crystal.
let you go and get busy. I know you got a lot to do. You do a lot of traveling.
Yeah,
She does
yes.
her webinar. I'll ask you offline. I want to do a web series, a webinar series. So I'll be contacting you and we'll see where we'll go from there.
All righty. Sounds good. All
Okay.
right, Miss
Thank
Crystal.
you. You be
Thank you,
blessed.
darling. Talk
Okay,
later.
bye bye. And thank you guys for joining us on another episode of Ari'ze Women Network, Ari'ze TV. That was Pepper Miller. Definitely look her up, peppermiller.net. Let me explain Black Again. This is what it's all about, you guys. We have to arise in our finances, arise in our conscious. I, woman, I arise. Be blessed, and thank you for joining me.